Well, hello, everybody. It's been 2 weeks since we've seen you if you're tuning in for our first-time buyer or entry-level buyer market update. And again, just as a reminder, we kind of switched to a 2-week schedule in these videos. So each week we alternate whether we're doing a whole market update or a first-time buyer specific market update, which is this video here. So we're in a little bit of a weird space in the market, right? And, I love when clients ask me, how is the market? Because basically I get to tell them that it's really been a roller coaster ride. 60, 70 days ago, you kind of heard the needle scratch across the record a little bit. And then 30 days after that, things kind of started moving again. And now we're seeing, the data is suggesting that kind of the crash that I think people were expecting is not happening. The interest rates have stabilized a little bit to some degree. I'm knocking on wood here as I say that. And so, one of the questions that I think I would have if I were a buyer in the marketplace is, how do I know if this is the kind of market to jump in with both feet? How do I know if this is a maybe market for me? And how do I know if this is maybe a situation where I should hold off? So we're going to try to answer those questions this week as we go through our stats. So let's go ahead and get started. We've got our slides prepared for you. So the first one here is our closed data. Now, just as a reminder, closed data is 4 to 6 weeks old. This is because it is based on contracts that were negotiated 4 to 6 weeks ago. And that's really when we saw things kind of like start to pick up again. So if you look here, you kind of go through and you see, starting in 2022, you see things rising through the spring, cresting kind of right around the end of April, beginning of May. Remember, this is based on sales that were actually from 30 to 45 days before then, and then kind of gently sloping downward. We've gotten a little bit of a bump up here off that minimum. Our current entry-level single-family home in LA and Orange County, so this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and this is a first quartile number. Just as a reminder for everybody, what is the first quartile? It's where you take the median and then you go halfway between the bottom and the median. And this is meant to approximate, right, entry-level housing. So this means if you are looking at 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, 75% of the houses in the market are more expensive than this and 25% are less expensive. So that's another way to kind of look at it. We're at 755. When was the last time we were around 755? Around March of this year. So have we really backtracked quite a bit? Nope, we haven't. That kind of brings up a point I will mention at the end. So stay tuned for that. Something that a client said to me today that I thought was pretty interesting. If you look down here at our entry-level condo, again, this is a first quartile, LA and Orange counties, and this is based on a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. We're at 520. That's actually a really good number, and it's a bit lower really than we've seen. The condo numbers actually kind of held out steady. I'm curious, is this kind of an anomaly? Are we going to see a little bit of a bounce back? My guess is that in a way, condo buyers are a lot more susceptible to interest rate than single family home buyers. Just a guess on that. If we go on to our next slide and we look at our total monthly payment, where are we at here? And just to give you guys a reminder, we try to base this number on some semblance of reality, right, for first-time home buyers. So this is based on 5% down. It includes mortgage insurance, taxes. It's based on a 30-year fixed. On our entry-level single-family home, that is $5,163 a month. And on our entry-level condo, that is $3,821 per month. If you are a person out there considering renting a 2-bedroom condo in a more affluent or desirable area, those rents are frequently mid 3,000s, and you don't get any interest rate deduction and you don't pay off any principal with that. So just kind of bear those in mind in reference. I think these payment numbers are actually not that scary. Where were we last time we saw numbers like these? End of March for our condo, and pretty much around the same time for our entry-level single family. So those payments have retreated to end of March levels, we'll say. How much income do you need? Assuming you don't have any other debts, how much money needs to be coming into your household to qualify? Well, we're about $126,000 here for our entry-level single-family home and about $93,000 for our entry-level condo. Here is the big one, right? That to me says that things changed. So if you look here, you'll notice these absorption rates just kind of slowly sort of trended downward and then they bounced back up. This data is a lot more up to date than the closed sale data because this is based on what has happened over the last 2 weeks, not 4 to 6 weeks ago. And where are we? So for our entry-level single-family home, we are at 74%. That is a solid seller's market, not a crazy circus seller's market, but a solid seller's market. And we are at 70% for condos. I expect to see these condo prices rebound a little bit from this 520 number. I think that is a 4 to 6 week ago anomaly. So we're seeing an absolute reversal of that trend on the absorption rate. Here's the inventory, right? We saw steady inventory increases, and then about the last month, it just stopped. And this is for both our entry-level single-family home and for our condo categories, right? We saw these numbers rise. They're still way higher than we were a year ago, right? Or a little bit higher than a year ago in the case of the condo. So if you're a buyer out there, you still are having that enhanced choice. There are more things to go look at in the market, but it's no longer growing. And I think that's something, and it's held stable like that you should really take note of. And it didn't gently slow down. It really just sort of abruptly turned a corner. If you look at our 14-day still active percent, that is also stabilized out here, kind of trending in the same range. Again, it was heading up. So another sign kind of that our market has turned that corner, right? It is adjusted for interest rates and has found a new equilibrium. And then if we look at our week supply of homes, the same story again. You see inventory up, and then it peaked and then came back down a little bit. This is still pretty healthy, right? We're right around 8 weeks of inventory in both our entry-level single-family home and our entry-level condo category. So, this is what I would call a fairly healthy market. I know if you're a first-time home buyer, it might not seem that way. If you're a seller, it might not seem that way. But the reality is really these are healthier inventory levels. So let's get down to the brass tacks. How do you know if you're a person, whether this is the kind of market that you should take both feet and jump in with? How do you know if you should absolutely hold off? And how do you know if you are stuck in the middle? So here's the good news. The good news is this is really a healthier market than we've had in the last 2 years. It might not seem like it, but you might not be getting everything you want out there. You might find that sellers are not giving you whatever you want, but the reality is this is a healthier market than it has been. If you are a buyer, you have more opportunities. Your competition is not going to be as fierce, though there's absolutely still competition out there. So that's the good news. What is the bad news? Well, the bad news here is I think if you were the kind of person that said, I'm going to bide my time and I'm going to wait for a crash and I'm going to go when there's blood in the streets and I'm going to get a house for 50 cents on the dollar. I don't see it on the immediate horizon. I don't see it on the 6-month horizon. I don't see it on the 12-month horizon. Obviously, rates, political climate can change. Those things do affect our housing markets. But I feel like if we were going to see a slowdown that turned into a bit of a crash or a correction, I feel like we would have seen it, and we don't. Most economists are now predicting flat to mild rising home prices for 2022, for the remainder of the year. I think that's about what I think is going to happen. My prediction is probably from this point to the end of the year, flat to plus 5%. What it isn't going to be, though, is a 10 or 20% reduction in home prices. Now, I'm going to issue a little bit of a caveat. We do these stats for LA and Orange counties, which is mostly areas that are close to population. There's some parts of LA County that are fringe and a bit out there, right? On that border of Kern County, for example. I do think some of these fringe areas, especially the areas that have tons of new home construction, I think those areas are in trouble a little bit. And the reason being is whenever demand lessens, even a little bit, it lessens in those fringe areas a lot. And it's disproportional, right? Like, the number of people looking at homes, for example, in, we'll say Aliso Viejo in Orange County to pick a number, if that goes down 20%, the number of people looking to buy homes in Valencia went down 25 or 30. And I think if you're looking in those areas, there's two ways to look at that. Either A, you might actually be able to get some of those deals that you've been hoping to get, or B, you might realize, hey, some of those areas I thought I couldn't get into, right? In the case of Valencia, if you were looking in parts of the valley, or if you were looking in Santa Clarita, there are now other areas that you can get into that you might not have been able to get into before. And that's the reason why demand slackens so much more in those outlying fringe kind of frontier areas. And now for the ugly part of this. The ugly part of this is that, the reality is homes are still very expensive. Rent is still very expensive. And, we haven't seen that crash. And if you were waiting for that opportunity because you thought finally things that were insanely unaffordable to you, either via rent or buying, were soon going to be available, they aren't. We're not seeing big reductions in rents. And the reality is, if you are out there right now, doing nothing isn't an option. No matter what you do, if you stay renting, that is also a choice that you're making. That is a deliberate choice, and nothing stays the same forever. So there's no option to just sit and do nothing. The reality is the world will change around you regardless. And that's kind of a little bit of the ugly of this market. And, to anybody who's watching this thinking, I'd love to buy a home, I just don't think it's possible for me, which is statistically probably a lot of you, the most important thing you can do is have a plan. The clients that we work with that are successful, yes, some of them got lucky. They got big gifts from parents. They had a lot of assistance. But most of our clients, over 50%, did not get that level of assistance. And they had to make a plan to get there. It was a very deliberate effort. So if that is you out there, we'd love to help you work on that. We frequently work with clients that are 12 to 24 months out. Absolutely reach out to us if you are looking to become a homeowner in Southern California. And do not forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We have another great video coming out for you on Thursday of this week. If you are looking to buy or sell real estate in Southern California, we would love to lend you our expertise. I'm trying to think, what else are we forgetting here? Stephen Meade with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. We will see you again real soon.